Waiting is rarely gentle. It stretches time, tests faith, and exposes every doubt hidden in the heart. Yet it is within waiting that the deepest transformation takes place. While the world measures progress by visible movement, life often works in stillness, shaping the soul long before change appears. In the waiting, you learned restraint. You learned how to hold your pain without letting it define you. Days passed without answers. Nights grew heavy with questions, and still you remained. That endurance was not accidental. It was built moment by moment, in choices no one saw, choosing patience over panic, hope over despair, and faith over fear. Waiting taught you to release control. You realized that forcing outcomes only drained your strength, while surrender restored it. Letting go did not mean giving up. It meant trusting that what was meant for you would arrive in its proper time. In that release, peace slowly replaced anxiety, and clarity replaced confusion. This chapter is not about what you lost during the waiting, but about what you gained. You gained discernment, the ability to recognize what truly matters. You gained humility, the understanding that growth does not always feel powerful. And most importantly, you gained resilience, the quiet certainty that no season lasts forever. The waiting refined your character. It softened your heart without breaking it. It strengthened your spirit without hardening it. You emerged with a deeper compassion for others, knowing firsthand the weight of unseen battles. Where impatience once lived, wisdom now resides. When the door finally opens, you will step forward differently. Not rushed, not desperate, but grounded, prepared, whole. The waiting did not delay your life. It prepared you for it. And this chapter stands as proof that what grows slowly grows strong, and what is built in patience endures. The season of silence did not arrive gently. It came without warning, stripping away noise, expectations, and familiar voices until only truth remained. At first, the quiet felt unbearable, like being forgotten. Days stretched longer, nights grew heavier, and questions echoed without answers. Yet within that stillness, something unseen was beginning to form. Silence became a teacher. It revealed how much strength had been borrowed from approval, and how fragile confidence was when applause disappeared. In the absence of validation, the soul was forced to stand alone, and in doing so, it learned how to stand firm. What once depended on others slowly rooted itself within. Faith did not shout during this time, it whispered. It spoke through small moments of endurance, through choosing hope when discouragement felt easier, through trusting that unseen work was still work. Every delay carried intention. Every closed door protected more than it denied. The path forward was unclear, but the purpose behind the waiting was not. In the quiet, wounds surfaced that noise had long hidden. Old fears, disappointments, and doubts rose to be confronted, not to destroy, but to heal. Growth required honesty. Healing demanded patience. Letting go became an act of courage, not weakness. What was released made space for something stronger, something truer. There were moments when progress felt invisible, when nothing seemed to change. Yet beneath the surface, roots were deepening. Character was being refined. Strength was learning restraint. The heart was being trained to trust timing rather than urgency. What grows slowly learns how to last. By the time the silence began to lift, the transformation was undeniable. The need to explain, to impress, to rush had faded. In its place stood calm assurance and quiet authority. The journey had not been easy, but it had been necessary. This chapter does not end with noise or recognition. It ends with readiness. The silence has fulfilled its purpose. What emerges now carries depth, resilience, and faith tested by time. The next season will not announce itself loudly, but it will move forward with unshakable strength. There was a time when movement felt impossible, when each step forward required more courage than strength. The world continued loudly while the heart learned to survive in stillness. This was not a pause chosen freely, but one assigned by life itself. A season where action was replaced by endurance and answers were replaced by trust. In this space, patience became more than waiting. It became discipline. The urge to rush, to force clarity, or to prove worth slowly lost its grip. What remained was a deeper awareness of self and purpose. Silence revealed the difference between what was wanted and what was needed. Many desires fell away, not because they were wrong, but because they were no longer essential. Faith matured here. It was no longer fueled by visible progress, but by conviction. Trust was practiced daily, sometimes painfully, sometimes quietly, but always intentionally. Even when prayers felt unanswered, belief remained steady, rooted in the understanding that delay does not mean denial. The unseen was still active. This season stripped away illusions. Relationships were tested, motives exposed, and expectations refined. What could not survive the quiet was never meant to last. What remained proved itself real. Strength stopped looking like resistance and began to resemble surrender. Surrender to timing, to growth, to becoming. There were moments of doubt, moments when giving up felt reasonable. Yet perseverance whispered a different truth, that the work being done within was greater than anything visible outside. Each silent victory mattered. Each day endured added weight to the foundation being built. As this chapter closes, there is no rush to speak or explain. The transformation does not require validation. Calm replaces urgency. Purpose replaces confusion. What once felt like stagnation is now understood as preparation. The silence has shaped a steadiness that cannot be shaken. The next steps will be taken with clarity, not haste. This journey continues, not driven by noise, but guided by truth, faith, and quiet strength. The quiet did not mean nothing was happening. It meant everything important was happening beneath the surface. While the world measured progress by speed and visibility, this season measured it by depth. Each silent day added weight to the soul, shaping it in ways noise never could. There were moments when loneliness felt sharp, when the absence of voices created doubts that echoed too loudly. Yet even in isolation, there was guidance. Stillness sharpened perception. Distractions fell away, revealing truths that had been ignored for too long. What once felt like loss slowly revealed itself as refinement. Strength began to look different. It was no longer loud or defensive, no longer eager to prove anything. Strength learned to listen, to wait, to respond instead of react. It found power in restraint and confidence in consistency. The need to be seen faded as the need to be solid grew stronger. Faith carried the weight of the unseen. It stood firm when circumstances offered no reassurance. Trust became a daily choice, renewed in small, ordinary moments. Waking up, breathing through uncertainty, moving forward without clarity. These quiet acts formed a foundation that could not be shaken by doubt. In this season, healing demanded honesty. Old wounds surfaced, not to reopen pain, but to finally release it. Forgiveness became freedom. Letting go became growth. What was once carried as burden transformed into wisdom. The past lost its power, not because it was forgotten, but because it was understood. Progress was subtle but constant. Like roots growing in darkness, strength expanded where no one could see. Character was built when applause was absent. Integrity was shaped when no reward followed. What emerged from this process was not perfection, but stability. As this chapter draws to a close, there is no urgency to announce change. The transformation speaks through calm presence and steady direction. The quiet has done its work. What moves forward now carries depth, resilience, and truth, ready not for attention, but for purpose. The path forward was not marked by signs or certainty, but by commitment. Each day began without guarantees, yet effort was given anyway. This was the season where obedience mattered more than understanding, where showing up carried more weight than knowing the outcome. Progress moved slowly, but it moved honestly. There were days when strength felt borrowed, when even hope seemed tired. Yet something deeper sustained the journey, a resolve formed in the quiet, untouched by circumstances. It was not excitement that kept things moving forward, but faithfulness, the decision to continue, even when nothing changed outwardly, became the greatest act of courage. Silence sharpened discernment. It became easier to recognize what drained the spirit and what restored it. Not every voice deserved attention. Not every opportunity required pursuit. Boundaries formed naturally, not from fear, but from clarity. What aligned with purpose remained. What distracted from it slowly fell away. In this chapter, humility became a guide. Lessons arrived through small moments rather than grand events. Growth came through repetition, through consistency when motivation faded. The heart learned that discipline is love, expressed through action, especially when emotions waver. Faith deepened without spectacle. It learned to trust timing without questioning worth. Even unanswered prayers became sacred, carrying meaning beyond immediate relief. The waiting itself became proof that something valuable was being protected and prepared. This season reshaped identity, no longer defined by struggle or success. The self emerged, rooted in truth. The need for comparison dissolved. Peace replaced striving. What once felt like pressure transformed into purpose. As this chapter closes, there is no dramatic ending. There is steadiness. There is alignment. The road ahead remains unseen, but confidence is no longer dependent on visibility. The quiet has built resilience. The next steps will be taken with wisdom, patience, and a strength that does not need to announce itself. In reaching this final moment, it becomes clear that the journey was never about arriving quickly, but about becoming deeply rooted. The silence that once felt heavy now reveals its purpose. It was a space of shaping, a place where strength learned patience and faith learned endurance. What seemed like stillness was, in truth, steady movement beneath the surface. Every struggle carried instruction. Every delay refined intention. The heart learned that not all progress is visible and not all victories are celebrated. Some of the most important work happens when no one is watching, when persistence replaces passion and commitment stands firm without reassurance. Faith was tested not by loss, but by waiting. It learned to exist without answers, to trust without proof, and to remain steady when the outcome was unclear. In doing so, it became unbreakable. What once depended on circumstances now rests on conviction. The need to explain the journey has faded. The past no longer demands justification. Pain has been transformed into understanding and endurance into wisdom. What was once carried as weight now serves as foundation. The silence did not diminish identity, it clarified it. This conclusion does not signal an ending, but a readiness. The inner work has created space for what comes next. There is calm where there was once urgency, peace where there was once resistance, and confidence where there was once doubt. The road ahead may not be fully revealed, but it no longer needs to be. Each step will be guided by discernment, not fear, by purpose, not pressure. The journey forward will continue quietly, steadily, and truthfully, built on patience, strengthened by faith, and grounded in the power of becoming.